Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the November 14th, 2022 meeting of the City Plan Commission. Before we begin, I'll outline the procedure that we'll follow for our public hearing. As each agenda item is called, the applicant or his or her representatives and persons for the request will be allowed to speak. Then the persons against the request will be allowed to speak. If there is opposition to the request, the applicant will be allowed to make a short rebuttal. All persons wishing to speak need to come to the microphone at the front of the room. Be the story. Please state your name and address for the record. All statements made should be relevant to agenda item and be limited to 3 minutes. If there are several persons in favor of or opposed to a request, we encourage you to allow 1 or 2 persons to act as spokesperson for the group. If you like, a spokesperson for a group may request that the group stand and be recognized. While public discourse is very important to the commission, we have to maintain order in the meeting so that all persons may be heard and city business may be conducted. If so directed by me, the Sergeant at Arms shall remove from this meeting any person while addressing the commission or while attending the commission, making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, who becomes boisterous or making unauthorized remarks from the audience, stomping of feet, whistles, yells, or similar demonstrations. The Planning Commission members have reviewed each of these items in a previous work session. The recommendations we make tonight to the City Council will be based on the work session and the information provided by staff, as well as any additional information presented tonight. After completing the hearing on each item, the Commission will consider action on the item. The action taken tonight on these items will be in the form of a recommendation to the City Council. City Council will also conduct a hearing on these items, which will be held Tuesday, December 6th, 2022, in the Bosque Theater of the Waco Convention Center, 100 Washington Avenue. Record and recommendation of the Planning Commission and new testimony will be considered by the council at that time. The first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of our October 25th, 2022 work session and business meetings and October 25th, 2022 work session and business meetings. Are there any changes or additions? Seeing none, they stand approved as written. The first item we have on our agenda listed are our subdivision plats. For those following, the one item listed here will not be having any action taken this week, and so we'll move into our zoning applications. In the case of Z-22-54, what is the recommendation of city staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a request from Carly Lanhan on behalf of Skyway Holdings LLC for property at 1029 Northwood Drive for the renewal of a special permit for a contractor's shop in a C3 district. We mailed out 24 notices and had 0 returned. This item was continued during the October Plan Commission meeting, and Planning Services recommends approval of the renewal for a special permit, subject to the special provisions and conditions and based on the following findings. 1, that the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the purposes and intent of Chapter 28 zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco. 2, that the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area in which it is located. 3, that the proposed use would not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics in any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of a special exception. And 4, that available community facilities and services, including the road system, providing access to the proposed use are adequate for the proposed use. These findings are required for the granting of a special permit as per section 28-122 of the City of Waco zoning ordinance.
Thank you. We'll open our public hearing. Our public hearing is open. The applicant or his or her representative here to speak tonight? Is anyone else here to speak in favor on this item? Is anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? We will close the public hearing. We have a recommendation of approval from city staff. Once we have additional discussion or questions, we'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval based on staff findings.
Second. Motion by Mr. Ramos, second by Mr. Vickers. Any final discussion? Please poll the commission.
Rouse.
Yes.
Briscoe.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Embry.
Yes.
Fajardo.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I did want to point out that Mr. Embry is disqualified from voting on that last item, so his vote will not count towards that request.
You can get to register to vote.
Long, sorry.
Nonetheless, moving.
Apologize.
No problem at all. In the case of Z 22-65, what is the recommendation of city staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a request from Ryan and Madison Thomas, a public hearing for request from Ryan and Madison Thomas for property at 10341 Fallen Leaf Drive for a special permit for short-term rental type 1 in an R1B district. We mailed out 39 notices on this request and had 6 returned opposed to the special permit. And I did also want to note that this was continued by Plan Commission at the October meeting. And our recommendation since that meeting has changed. Planning Services recommends disapproval of the special permit subject to the special provisions and conditions. I'm sorry, disapproval based on the following findings. The proposed use is not compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area in which it is located due to established deed restrictions that would prohibit this use.
Is the applicant or his or her representative here to speak tonight? Is anyone else here to speak in favor on this item? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? Come on up to our podium here, state your name and address and any comments to the commission.
My name is Fred Wald. My address is 428 Riverview Drive in Woodway. And I am the developer of the Creekside Addition. And I feel like there's a few things that need to be clarified about this. And I'm hoping that the commission will not approve this application. One of the first things that I think is very important that there is a deed restriction on the Creekside Addition Phase 1 that strictly prohibits any use other than a single family home. The subdivision has been planned, developed, and we're about 2/3 through with it, with most of the lots sold, and everyone in there has built single family homes, wanting a place where they can have single family homes. It's a new subdivision. We started it about 5 years ago. And so it's relatively new. It's not reached a stage, where other kind of activities like this really fit in. The deed restrictions were duly filed before any lots were sold. They're a public record. Anyone can get copies of these deed restrictions. There's no hiding them in any way. And they're readily available. Anyone who has closed a lot in there with a title company has had access to the deed restrictions. It is their responsibility to look at the deed restrictions as part of their due diligence in buying. If they prefer not to do that, then that's their preference. But they are readily available, and there is no responsibility anywhere of anyone to bring those descriptions to their attention. It should be, basically, it is done through the procedure of buying a home or a lot. So I don't think there was any reason for them to not be aware that they're going to be breaking a rule that isn't subject to law. It is defendable and by going to court on a lawsuit. They can cause damages to the entire subdivision. This could be amount to a lot of money. And I hate to see the city encourage something that breaks deed restrictions that are standing and of great importance to a whole subdivision. I mean, this could change, could devalue people's homes. This particular lot sits right on an intersection. It's a 65-foot lot. So time you put a driveway in there with the return radiuses and stuff, you got room maybe to park one car on the street in front of this lot. Plus, being at an intersection, you have more traffic gathering there than you might driving down the street. So I think the traffic situation is an item that should be considered also.
Mr. DeWalt, you do have 3 minutes, so if I could just ask you to make the final comments that you have and then.
Okay, I'm basically finished.
Okay, perfect. Any questions for Mr. DeWalt? Thank you, sir. That does, thank you. Is anyone else here to speak in opposition to this item? Is there anyone here that we didn't prior who would like to make any rebuttals on the item? We will close our public hearing. We have a recommendation of disapproval of the special permit from city staff. So we have further discussion. We will entertain a motion.
I move to disapprove this application in accordance with the city staff recommendation.
Motion by Mr. Lane, second by Ms. Briscoe. Any final discussion? Please poll the commission.
Browse.
Yes.
Briscoe.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Embry.
Yes.
Harder.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Lane. Yes. Ramos.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes. Passes. In the case of Z-22-56, what is the recommendation of city staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is public hearing on a request from Riley Gage for property at 522 North 33rd Street for a special permit for short-term rental type 1 in an R1B district. We mailed out 35 notices and had 1 returned in favor of the request. Planning Services recommends approval of the special permit subject to the special provisions and conditions and based on the findings required for the granting of a special permit as per section 28-122 of the City of Waco zoning ordinance that were previously read on record.
We'll open our public hearing on this item. Is the applicant or his or her representative here to speak tonight?
Oh, not the speaker, I'm sorry.
Okay. Is anyone else here to speak in favor on this item? Is anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? We'll close our public hearing. We have a recommendation of approval from city staff. We will entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ramos, second by Mr. Farhado. Any final discussion? Please poll the commission.
Browse.
Yes.
Briscoe.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Embry.
Yes.
Fajardo.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes. Motion passes. In the case of Z-22-72, what is the recommendation of city staff?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is public hearing on a request from San Juana Gonzalez for property at 1624 Rambler Drive for special permit for short-term rental type 1 in an R1A district. We mailed out 24 notices and had 4 returned, 1 in favor and 3 opposed to the request. Planning Services recommends approval of the special permit subject to special provisions and conditions and based on the findings required for the granting of a special permit as per section 28-122 of the City of Waco zoning ordinance that were previously read on record.
We'll open our public hearing. Is the applicant or his or her representative here to speak tonight? Okay, would you like to speak?
No.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak in favor on this item? Would anybody like to speak in opposition to this item? If you would come down, just state your name and address and answer the question.
My name is Jaden Milligan. I live at 1700 Rambler Drive. I've lived there for 11 years. my part of Rambler is a bubble. It is a homeowner bubble. Everyone that has lived there has almost lived there longer than I have. The next door neighbor, 1624 Rambler, they have only lived there for 2 years. And when they bought the house, it took them months to even move into the house. In our part of the bubble, I would say that our neighborhood is very safe. We feel comfortable walking. It is, even though our street is busy, we feel safe. And I believe that even though it is a single room rental, it brings uncertainty to our neighborhood. It brings uncertainty to next door. I have a small child who plays in our yard. And not knowing who's next door at a constant makes me nervous. We share grass between our 2 yards, and we share that grass connects our driveways. It was brought to my attention that part of the type 1 is that they require to park in the driveway, and that driveway is very small, and those people already park in the street and park in the grass between our 2 homes, which I learned today is illegal. So that brings a great concern of mine of where they expect these people to park. The obvious concern of safety and the fact that they're never home. As I previously said, it took them months to move in. And then the fact that he is constantly gone at work and she is at work and no one is ever home. Who is to monitor this person who is staying with them? Being that it's supposed to be homeowner resides there, it is a big concern of mine that no one will be there to monitor this rental. No one will be there to make sure that they are abiding by the rules of the rental. So these are great concerns of mine.
Thank you. Any questions from Smilder?
I was just asking, have you addressed the concerns with the homeowner?
No, because they're never home and I don't speak Spanish.
Do you have somebody that can possibly translate for you?
I do not.
So are they leaving vehicles parked there while they're not there? Or
They're-
is it vehicles being parked there when they are there?
It's vehicles that are parked there when they are there. They have a construction truck that they have a trailer and they park it in the grass that shares between, like I own half the grass and they own half the grass. And they park it in the grass. They also park on the street. And then they have people who come and go who park in this tiny driveway. I can't see how they expect a rental to also be parking there as well.
Anyone else here to speak in opposition on this item?
Is the item that they have a third party managing team, you know. Supposed to be checking your house.
Oh, yes, please come back.
Hi everyone, I'm Sampana Gonzalez and I live in 1624 Rambler. Sí, ellos me quedan, ella les conoce.
She's wanting to know if y'all have any questions for her.
So I think one question is, you mentioned that there will be a property management group helping manage this home if you make it a short-term rental. How will that property management group be involved in the rental?
Sí, es un real estate que ellos ofrecen ese servicio de rentar, entonces ellos harían todo lo que es como el internet y todo, pero yo vivo allí, yo me encargaría de la limpieza, es más, nada más me saldría cuando esté rentado, y como yo vivo ahí, yo no lo pienso rentar todos los días, si al caso un fin de semana sí y otro no, depende de los temas.
So she was just saying that they're helping her with the management of the website, advertisements, any communication that she's not able to have with any guests that would come and attend or stay in the home. She's saying that she does live in the home, and continues to live in the home, and she would be in charge of maintenance and cleaning.
Ok, yo quiero agregar es que yo vivo ahí y si ella quisiera tener una palabra conmigo la puede tener porque como todo el mundo yo salgo a trabajar, pero yo regreso tan pronto y termino.
And she was just wanting to clarify that yes, she's gone during the day during her work hours, but she does still reside in the home. Like most people, she leaves home while she's at work and but does return and is available if anyone has questions for her.
So the management team is basically to help with the language barrier and all of that, so whoever is renting the property will understand what they need to do, the restrictions and all of that.
Entonces la compañía está preguntando si más bien comunicar.
Sí, antes de que yo pensara en hacer esto, porque yo trabajo para ellos, es una compañía de los. Yo les pregunté que primero investigaran si se podía, si mi vecindario me lo permite. Y por eso yo ya invertí dinero todo, porque ya investigaron diferentes. Y ya nada más faltaría que la ciudad me hiciera el favor de aceptar la petición.
So she's saying that they would help with the language barrier and communication of guests. They've also helped her with the way she acquired the property. She inquired about whether this was an option for her, and that the real estate company's management helped her through that process, did the investigation, and found out it was not a special.
So are you going to allow the management company to choose who stays, or are you going to choose who actually you let stay in the house?
La compañía, porque ese es un servicio que ellos me están dando y yo les tengo que pagar a ellos.
So she's paying the real estate company to be the ones to monitor and to manage basically the reservations for her.
And do you know what requirements they have for people they would let rent out the house?
Sí, sí los conozco porque ellos tienen otras casas que hacen eso y que yo estoy encargada de darles mantenimiento. Entonces,
So she's familiar with them because she actually works for that real estate company and she helps with some of the managerial, or not the but the operational stuff like cleanings for that company. So she's familiar with some of the process already for other properties.
And they were clear with her that the type of permit that she would be receiving, she still not just has to live when there's not people staying, but it's still expected at certain residents when people are staying there.
Y que usted entiende que ese permiso se lo obligaría a usted de que todavía viva y es que los que se están quedando, o sea, como quiera usted vive ahí, se va a quedar ahí en la Chepán. Usted no se podría ir de la propiedad menos que
bueno, yo quiero ver si hay la posibilidad para darles a ellos su privacidad y también yo tener la mía porque yo tengo otro lugar donde pasar la noche. Entonces yo nada más me saldría de la casa cuando ellos estén ahí para darles su privacidad, pero tan pronto ellos salen, yo regreso a vivir a mi casa y como le digo, no la pienso rentar todos los días porque yo ahí vivo.
So she said that she doesn't plan on doing this on a regular basis, but she was wanting to see if there was a way that she could leave the property while she's renting it out, to give them privacy and to allow herself privacy as well. And I can explain further. La definición de este tipo de si requiere que usted se quede en propio escape.
Bueno, si el permiso lo requiere, tampoco.
So she said if that's what's required of her, then she will stay on the property while they're renting.
Thank you. All right, we will close the public hearing. We'll open up for at least some discussion, if not entertain a motion. We have a recommendation.
Can I get a clarification from the city? The parking requirement for this STR special permit would be 3 total parking slots
Correct.
outside of the street, correct?
Yes, on the property. Within an improved parking area.
That would include parking on grass.
Correct.
Clarify, you mean on the property, you mean in the driveway, not on the street?
In the driveway, not on the street and not on the grass.
And the city has looked at that and determined that there's ample space for 3 cars to park in it.
Based on the dimensions, the site plan that was provided and some photos that were taken of the property. It does appear that there's enough room for at least 3 parking spaces on the property.
How does the city enforce that, like for the neighbor that's worried about that? If they meet the qualifications, obviously if 3 people want to use their cars, one of them's gonna end up parking on the street. And
How would we?
I guess the city has no idea if it's the homeowner parking on the street, if they're allowed to, or the guest parked on the street. They're not supposed to, but you're not gonna put 3 in a driveway, I wouldn't imagine if you need someone to be able to get out.
It would be similar to any other single family home in that whoever lives in the home, if they have more than, if it's a group of 3 adults that have 3 separate vehicles, that they have to coordinate, you know, when it's time for one of them to get out, if they're stacked, one behind the other. And so, you know, it's in that sense, the STR1, the purpose of it is that it would continue to function as your standard single family home, as if someone were just welcoming a guest temporarily in the home.
So one of the things we do on their advertisement, make sure that they put that, you know, on-street parking is not allowed for guests, and look at their correspondence with the guest as well.
We also do, when they go through the licensing process, we do mail out notices to all property owners within 200 feet with contact information for the property owner and or the managing entity, in case there are issues with parking or any other, you know, noise or anything like that. That way that's something that they can get a hold of if it's outside of business hours or city's business hours, for that issue to be addressed.
Then I would imagine continued violations would result in having your license revoked.
Correct.
Now, was that clarified to the homeowner that had continued violation of license would be revoked?
We have not had direct communication with the homeowner prior to this meeting, but we can certainly communicate that with her at this time if you'd like. Él nada más se quiere asegurar de que usted sepa que el estacionamiento es para usted y para los que se estén quedando ahí, que no se pueden estacionar en el zacate y no se pueden estacionar en la calle. Todos se tendrían que estacionar dentro de la propiedad, en lo que es el pavimento.
I assume whatever office is involved with communicating after the fact where this to be approved has.
Yes.
Ready for motion?
Well, as long as there's not additional comments or questions, yeah.
Okay, then I move that we recommend approval based on staff finding.
Second. We have a motion for approval of the short-term rental special permit by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Vickers. Any final discussion before we vote? Please poll the question.
Browse?
Yes.
Briscoe?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Ember. Yes. Fajardo.
Yes.
Harris.
No.
Lane.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Reynolds.
No.
Smith.
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes. Motion passes. In the case of Z 22 63, what's the recommendation of city staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is public hearing on a request from April Walker for property at 1211 Miller Street to rezone from R1B to R2. We mailed out 38 notices and had one returned opposed to the request. We have received a request from the applicant to continue this item to the January Plan Commission meeting, and city staff does recommend approval of that request. Let me get you that exact date. Just a moment. It would be January 24th, 2023.
We'll open our public hearing on this item. While we have a request for a continuance of the applicant or his or her representative here to speak tonight. Anyone else here to speak in favor on this item? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, we're gonna keep our public hearing open unless we have further discussion. We have a request for continuance until the January 24th, 2023 Lake Mission work or business session, and we'll entertain a motion to that effect. Right.
Move to approve the continuance.
Second. Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Ramos for the continuance to January 24th, 2023. Any final discussion? Please poll the commission.
Browns.
Yeah.
Briscoe.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Embry.
Yes.
Fajardo.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes. Motion passes. In the case of ABD 22 what is the recommendation of city staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is public hearing on a request from Greg Davis on behalf of Sikkim Realty LLC for abandonment of a portion of Morris Street right-of-way located in the vicinity of South 11th Street and Crow Street, adjacent to 2011 South 11th Street, described as a 0.054 acre portion of Morris Street, a variable width right-of-way, and a 0.352 acre tract of land, being 4 tracts of land in the Primrose Edition, in addition to the city of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, recorded in volume 275, page 189, deed records, McLennan County, Texas, conveyed to Adele and Kelvin Williams, recorded in instrument number 2009-30261, official public records, McLennan County, Texas. We mailed out 14 notices and had 0 return on this request. Planning Services recommends approval of the abandonment request based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions. One, the first finding is public use of the right-of-way is not required for the proper flow of traffic or for emergency vehicle access to the area. And 2, utility access for surrounding properties is not adversely impacted by the abandonment of this right-of-way. Conditions are 1, a sewer easement shall be retained centered over the existing sewer line that runs perpendicular to Morris Street right-of-way. The easement shall extend 10 feet on either side of the sewer line. And 2, a general utility easement shall be retained centered over the existing AT&T facilities and the Morris Street right-of-way. The easement shall extend 10 feet on either side of the 2 copper cables and 1 fiber optic aerial cable.
Thank you. We will open our public hearing. This item is the applicant or his or her representative to speak tonight. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Anyone else here to speak in favor on this item? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? Close our public hearing. We have a recommendation of approval with conditions from city staff. I will entertain a motion for discussion.
Like the motion to recommend.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ramos, second by Mr. Reynolds. Any final discussion? Please poll the commission.
Rouse.
Yes.
Briscoe.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Embry.
Yes.
Fajardo.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Vickers? Yes. Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is our street closure agenda item. We have a recommendation, I believe that what's the recommendation since that?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this request, the public hearing is open for this request for City of Waco and Texas Department of Transportation for the closure of an at-grade railroad crossing at Oxygen Drive for its replacement by frontage road bridge crossings. And city staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval.
Our public hearing is open, so we will, if the applicant or anyone here to speak in favor on this item is here to speak. Please come up. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? We'll close our public hearing. As we noted, we have a recommendation of approval for the closure on Oxygen Drive. If we have any, open up for discussion, but we'll also entertain.
Move to approve based on that finding.
Second.
Motion of approval by Mr. Farhado, second by Mr. Lane. Any follow discussion? Please poll the commission.
Browse.
Yes.
Briscoe,
Yes.
Cole,
No.
Embry. I believe I'm disqualified from this one as well. From last time.
Correct.
Fajardo,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Reynolds,
No.
Smith,
No.
Vickers.
No. Passes. Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is an update of the ordinance amending state sales. Could update us on what that is.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance amending section 28-931 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas, for the purpose of removing the requirement for a permit and fees associated with holding estate sales. And city staff does recommend approval of the request.
Our public hearing on this item. Is anyone here to speak not or in favor? Here to speak in opposition to this item? Close our public hearing. Do we have any discussion on this or?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the proposed ordinance change.
Second.
Motion for approval by Ms. Reynolds, second by Ms. Briscoe. On discussion. Please poll the commission.
Browse,
Yes.
Briscoe,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Embry,
Yes.
Fajardo,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes. Motion passes. Final agenda item is discussion and election of officers for this upcoming year. Put it up for discussion and motion.
I can nominate Mr. Harris to continue serving as chair and.
My Brown, second by Mr. Reynolds, or myself to move forward as chair and Mr. Ramos as vice chair. Any final discussion? Please poll the commission.
Browse,
Yes.
Briscoe,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Embry,
Yes.
Fajardo,
Yeah.
Well, after that.
Same excluded.
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yes. Vickers.
Yes.
All right.
I just wanted to clarify that no members will disqualify for that.
Says I was voting for my employer.
Motion sounds regrettably.